Claire's eyes were dark, and she only felt that the sky was spinning for a while. If it weren't for Charlie's quick eyes and hands to support her, she would collapse to the ground. If her father, Jacob, really becomes paraplegic, it means that he can only lie on the bed in the future, can't do anything, and completely lose his ability to live. This kind of life, for a person, is simply better than death. She hurriedly asks, "Doctor, can a spinal injury be cured?" The doctor shook his head and said, "Basically, there is no cure. At least there are no cases of high paraplegia cured in the world. The most common is that the patient has recovered to the point where the patient can sit up by himself, and the rest is basically powerless, so you have to be mentally prepared." Hearing this, Claire couldn't help crying like rain, and it was pear blossoms with rain. Then, she choked up and asked Elaine, "Mom, are you okay?" Elaine looked pale and said, "Hey, I'm fine, but my head hurts a bit." The doctor said that there was basically no major problem after the examination. It was mainly your dad. The muck truck hit his side at the time. As she said, she cried all of a sudden. Her husband may be paraplegic at a high position, which is also a fatal blow to her. Charlie asked carefully to find out that the muck truck that ran the red light had already escaped after the incident. The mother-in-law and the old master both fell into a coma when the accident happened, and could not see the approximate visual characteristics of the license plate number. Subsequently, the two were sent to the hospital by kind passers-by. Elaine's situation was better. Sitting in the passenger seat, she was just unconscious when she was hit at the beginning. At most, she was stippled and suffered some minor injuries. She woke up after arriving at the hospital. But the old master sat in the driving position and took most of the impact, so he was not so lucky, and he was hit by a muck truck. Charlie couldn't help sighing. God doesn't have long eyes either. This old master, although he usually likes to brag, he doesn't understand and has to pretend to be an expert, but to the bottom of his heart, he is not a bad person. He is just a little useless. As a result, Jacob is currently paraplegic in a high position. If he does not take action, he will be basically cold for the rest of his life. On the contrary, mother-in-law is not only a standard snobbery, she is also a half-shrew, a stinky lady who wants to sell her daughters and begs for glory, and she has no morals or limits in her life. The results of it? She has nothing to do. Thinking of this, Charlie sighed, thinking evilly in his heart, why isn't the person who was knocked into a paraplegic, his mother-in-law Elaine? If she bumped into a high paraplegia, she will save a lot of worry in the future when she is in Wilson's family. At this moment, the door of the ICU ward opened, and two figures walked in from outside. When Charlie saw the young man walking in the forefront, his face suddenly became cold. The person here was Gao Junwei, who was hit hard by himself at the car show yesterday. And behind him, there was a middle-aged man carrying a medicine chest with a big red cross on it. Claire couldn't help asking, "Mom, why did he come?" Elaine said, "I asked him to come." Junwei knew the dean of this hospital. He was visiting relatives here when we were admitted. He saw that I and your dad were injured, so he arranged for your dad to the ICU ward. After speaking, she immediately changed her face, greeted him with a smile on her face, and exclaimed affectionately, "Junwei, you have been busy running up and down just now. You have worked hard, come and have a rest." Gao Junwei smiled slightly and said, "It's okay, Auntie, I'm not tired." As he said, he suddenly saw Charlie standing behind Elaine. His face changed slightly. Unexpectedly, Charlie, an eye-catching waist, was actually there. Yesterday at the auto show, it was because Charlie was in the middle of it, that made him lose face in front of Claire. Since then, he hated Charlie deeply. And he didn't think Charlie rubbish would be really awesome, so he wanted to find a chance to pierce his disguise. Now that the enemy meets, he is naturally jealous, and at the same time, he is even thinking about regaining his face before Claire and regain her favor. At this time, Elaine sighed, wiped away her tears, and said, "Junwei, the doctor said just now that your Uncle Wilson may be paralyzed in bed for the rest of his life. How can this make me live?" Gao Junwei hurriedly pointed to the middle-aged man behind him and introduced to Elaine, Auntie, don't worry. This is Zhongjing Liu, the famous Dr. Zhongjing Liu. He is a famous traditional medicine doctor in the country. I specially invited him to come to see Uncle. He is a great healer. Uncle will be able to heal with him. As soon as Elaine heard that the other party was a well-known expert in the country, she was immediately excited and said hurriedly, "Oh, Junwei, thank you so much." "Thank you also, Dr. Zhongjing." Gao Junwei smiled slightly and said calmly, "Auntie, you are welcome, this is what I should do." After speaking, he turned around and respectfully said to Zhongjing Liu behind him, "Mr. Zhongjing, Uncle Wilson's illness, I'm bothering you." Hearing this, Zhongjing Liu took a step forward, smiled slightly, and said confidently, "Don't worry, isn't the patient hurting the spine? Although it is difficult to heal, it is still very easy for me." The doctor in charge of the hospital acts in surprise. As far as I know, there is no good solution for spinal injuries in the world. Even the richest people in the world can only lie on the bed after they have injured their spine. With cord sclerosis, you can only sit in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. With only 3 fingers you can move. Why are you so confident?